directory is up there on the top. Over here on the left-hand side are two clusters that formed. We examined those, and those are all the old-school DOS utilities that you can run at the command prompt. And the reason they look different and they clustered separately is because they're significantly different in how they're compiled. And they're also compiled one after the other on Microsoft's build system. So all the timestamps are all in a row. So they clustered up nicely. All the sysinternal tools are right there in blue down on the lower left. And what's interesting is I see one malware hanging off there, and I'm wondering what that is. I still haven't looked at it. But I bet you that guy cut and pasted some source code from Mark's projects, because Mark used to put a lot of his source code up on the net, and I'll bet somebody cut and pasted maybe control to cap or something like that as a starter for their rootkit. Task kill, task con, log off, change log on, all grouped together as a group. The Zero malware has that rather symmetrical pattern. There's another one called YAH Lover. There's another one called Rungu, etc. All the auto-run infecting malware didn't really group up really close, but it kind of created a strand, and I thought that was interesting. The NLS binaries for multiple language support clustered up nicely into a single group. The thing that's interesting about this is if these are not based upon source code that's in the open source, then these clusterings relate to individual actors. People, the development environment fingerprints themselves can cause the clustering, and then shared source code can also cause the clustering. So this is the beginning of working out threat groups based upon the archaeology of looking through stored malicious binaries. So I'm hoping to go a lot further with this. I'm going to talk to MITRE about their MIC program. This, again, is all open source just to get this stuff started. This one's really neat. We dropped 7,800 malware through this, and what's really cool is those two on the top actually are two separate developers, but they started to share some source code at some point. You can actually see there's a huge colony forming off the bottom that's sharing something with the bottom colony. And then this one over here in the middle, where that one is kind of pulled off like a piece of taffy, it's part of the upper cluster, but it shares something in common with two malware that you can see are pulled off the middle down there on the bottom. And so again, what we're doing is we're actually essentially code naming each cluster as a threat group. Here's another screenshot. This was 9,800 binaries. I haven't had a chance to go through this one and figure out what these different clusters are yet, because I just got this before the talk. But I thought it was really pretty, so I thought I would put it in here. This is all the APT malware from a single US Army base that we've collected, and you'll notice three distinct groupings formed up. Unfortunately, the other stuff is scattered out, so I haven't tuned it enough to figure out if there's any actual patterns there yet. But those three clusters are very interesting. All right, so what are your takeaways? Using the idea of attribution or bringing things back to the developer, ultimately, at this point in time, means you can do better intrusion detection. It makes your existing security infrastructure that you've already invested in smarter. If you can take things out of the host and use them at the perimeter, you're winning, especially if they have long-term efficacy. And by that, I mean don't use the DNS name. I mean use the command and control protocol itself. Strip the DNS out. Look for file registry, etc. Obviously, the current check the checkbox approach is not sufficient to stop attackers. They have intent, they have funding, they are dangerous, so we need to focus on them. We need to stop focusing so much on the malware itself. We have about 400 gigabytes of malware we have not yet processed from the intelligence community. We're going to be processing that, so if you're interested in those results and you're on that side of the house, feel free to talk to me or to Aaron Barr, who's head of our federal division. We want to process as much malware as possible. Anything we process, we will share back to you. We'll print the graphs. We'll do everything. So if you're interested in talking to us about having us process it for you, I am all ears. Please stop by the booth and talk to me about that. Here's where you can get fingerprint from the booth downstairs, obviously, and from www.hpgary.com. If you go to the community link, there should be something there within an hour. As soon as I get downstairs, I'll get the thing up on the net. Thank you very much.